Have you ever seen a draft like this? Look at this. We're starting off on a different page than we usually do here on this rank the team or rate the team. I don't know what I'm calling it these days, but look at this. We got 6 wide receivers in the first 7 rounds. Quick little detour there at tight end. Then we just went running back all the way through. Then we went a bunch of QBs, and then we just kind of filled out our team here at the end. I don't think I've seen this before where it is just so specific in these different sections. And I kind of like it overall. The QBs, leave something to be desired. We'll see what we can do about that in the future. Um, but I kind of like how this turned out for the most part. Even when I took no players that I'm not huge fans of. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so here's our team here. I got the 8th pick in the draft. And like we saw in the other one, we just went wide receiver all the way down. I'm curious if I got like value on these guys or not. Let's go and see if we did. Jefferson, well, 8, yeah. So Jefferson's actually now falling. I mean, like rising, right? Like you see him 6 and 7 more than before you saw him 7, 8, 9. So I don't expect to get him here as often. I have him on a lot of my teams though because he kept on falling. Got Drake London at cost. A lot of times when I'm looking at the second round here, you've heard me say before, there's not really anyone that I really dig. I just kind of take whoever. Part of the saving grace sometimes is if like Laporta and Kelsey and Allen and these types of players, these running backs, get taken before you, and then you end up with a nice wide receiver back here. I'm kind of drafting before all those people, and so I end up here with London. If Taylor falls here, depending on if he takes London or not, that's kind of maybe where I go. Also, take a little. I got a little bit of Taylor when he kind of falls around here for the most part, or later if he does. Got Ayuk later than usual. Got Neighbors a little earlier than usual. Higgins slightly later than usual, and then when it came to so basically they just all kind of got drafted where they usually get drafted. I didn't really get great ADP value, but it seems like the best available player was just another wide receiver, another wide receiver, another wide receiver. So I just kept on taking them. I eventually had to kind of like decide, okay, I'm not going. I don't want to go 6 wide receivers here in a row. Um, and so I went Ingram here. My favorite part of this draft is right here is probably the running backs. On these other drafts, on these other videos, you heard me talk about kind of seeing like this running back third. I'm calling it middle third or whatever. And I didn't take any wide. Look at this. This is actually really cool. Actually, now this first I'm seeing like this. Um, didn't take any wide receivers or tight ends during this whole spot here. And with the exception of certain wide receivers, like here, like these ones right here, Hopkins, whatever, sure, throw them in there too. Exception of these ones, and these ones are slightly interesting, but there's even there's no one here that I'm like, oh gosh, I can't believe I missed out on him for the most part. I got a ton of some of these guys too. So this makes me smile. Um, all these tight ends, don't care about them. All these wide receivers, like from here on down, for the most part, I don't think I care about them. Um, there's some quarterbacks in here, right, that I'd be interested in, but I don't think many of them correlate with my team. Doesn't correlate, but I would take them because of you don't need correlation there. Uh, doesn't correlate. Lawrence, he could have correlated, right? So maybe there's a debate here. Maybe he's like my least favorite. Well, maybe not, but maybe my least favorite player. We'll look and see as far as pick goes. Doesn't Atlanta? He would have correlated too, right? Because I got London on this one. Yeah, he would have correlated. Correlated. Doesn't correlate. Doesn't. 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 He does, right? In fact, this one kind of stings a little bit. I ended up with Jones and Fields, but I think I had to draft Jones earlier than usual. I imagine I was hoping McCarthy fell to me here to pair with my Jefferson, but it didn't happen. So I got Jones and made that work actually. with my team for the most part. Um, so this is my didn't really miss out on much as far as wide QB goes in this whole area. So these running backs are my favorite pocket here. Least favorite, I feel like it's got to be something that I did that avoided a quarter, like where I should have gotten another quarterback. I'm looking at this now. Should I have taken a fourth quarterback with this build? I think because I've done it in a couple other ones we've seen. I think this could have been a four quarterback build if I taking another one later. I don't know who I take instead though. If Vidal isn't here, if he's not here, and what I wanted here was two of these things. I was hoping McCarthy went back around, and he took them, and he already had Caleb Williams and Patrick Mahomes. So that seems a little improbable that he took them, and I don't think he was even correlated with anything. So, whoops, oh well. And then when I took Fields here, I was hoping that I could get Russell Wilson on the way back around to be my fourth quarterback. So that's actually what I was doing, if I'm not mistaken, in this one. Yeah, because I had the two Pittsburgh running backs. So like, hey, it would make sense to have both Pittsburgh QBs here to kind of partner with this. And then I got, one of these guys hopefully starting every week, obviously, and then these two guys run the whole week. And maybe as Jones potentially gets benched, maybe Fields comes on and he's now, a stud or at least a very good fantasy quarterback. Maybe not real quarterback, but fantasy quarterback. End up taking Vidal instead here, which I think is fine to make it a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my sixth running back right there. Do I not take him and take Bo Nix? Maybe. I don't think he usually goes this early, so I bet you I thought I could maybe get him here in the 17th round or something like that. I need tight ends too. I took Fant here. I was hoping Gesicki would fall back around right here. He didn't. So I could kind of lose out on these players that I felt should fall and that didn't fall for one reason or another. He already had McBride and Sinnott. And he still took Gesicki right there. This was my third. Who could I take it? QB, if anyone over here. O'Connell. I've taken more O'Connell than I should be proud of. But in these 20 round drafts, I think it's okay to take him if you feel he's actually going to produce for you compared to the other player. Like Johnson is nice, maybe because I got Jones. I don't know if I should be drafting him though, to tell you the truth. So there's not really anything below. If you look above, is there anything I could have done at quarterback wise that would have made sense? It could be with either of these two picks here. These were kind of Ridley's never a pick that I'm digging. That being said, it kind of turned out nice here to get the Ridley pick because then I got the Spears pick, and then I ended up with Will Levis here. So I got that correlation, the bet on Tennessee. Did I take Spears or Ridley or Ingram early compared to what I usually do? I took Ingram early. I got Ridley after ADP, or not, this isn't even ADP, this is right where I've got him in the past. So I got him later. And then Spears I took early. So maybe my least favorite pick might be the Ingram pick or the Spears pick. We got correlation there with Burrow if I don't take Ingram. And I'm already doing like a 3 tight end build in this one, so I don't really care a whole lot, although it's nice to have something like this to be consistent and then, throughout all the weeks. But do I get that same consistency if I have 3 or 4 not as good tight ends? I don't know. I do not know. Something to maybe look into somehow. And then Spears. So I took Spears, right? Like I took him to correlate here, knowing I was missing out on everything. So I could take Burrow here, or actually Lawrence. Well, he would be, if I take Ingram, then I can take Lawrence to correlate. That's what I don't like about what I've noticed is I don't mind taking Ingram, but in the sit and goes at least, it just doesn't line up with Jacksonville. If you don't end up with, like, everything's gone by the time Lawrence is off the board. So you already got to have your stuff ahead of time, and you got to reach for Lawrence or hope he comes to you. And so in these sit and goes, Jacksonville's not a good stack to go for. Is what I'm finding, or what I feel like. Um, in one of the fast drafts, I missed out on a stack with Jacksonville that I was kind of kicking myself on because I just misread the buys. Whoops. Okay, so I think the pick here, as we're talking it, is this Ingram pick. Don't take this is the pick I don't like, the Ingram pick. Uh, I get Burrow pairs with Higgins, and then because I take Burrow here, I may pass on Ridley, knowing that I can build out a stack with the 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 non-top end Cincinnati players, right? I got the other wide receiver, the rookie wide receiver, as well as Gesicki. Is it Gesicki? Yeah, Gesicki at tight end. And so I'm building out, that three-headed or four-headed tight end monster as we go along too. So I like the idea of it. Burrow here, and then I don't need to take Ridley here because, again, I'm going to take, like I said, what do I take? Do I start my running backs early? Do I take a different tight end? No, I can take a tight end. Not a bad play, actually, because this is still kind of late, I think, for Ferguson overall in these drafts. So if I want to take Ferguson, I could. I do like that more now, hindsight. Burrow, Ferguson versus Ingram, Ridley. I got Moss. Actually, look at this. Take Moss, I think, is what the play is. So I start my running backs one earlier. Burrow, Moss, and then assuming, we got to make some assumptions here, right? That these other players still fall. I take Harris, Warren, Spears, probably Brown. Why not? If you take Brown, let's see where Brown. I got him. He fell just a tad compared to what I've gotten in the past. Why not? So I got both the Cincinnati guys. Because I got both Cincinnati guys here and both Pittsburgh guys, I don't need Charbonnet if I don't want to take him. Although I like him at this range here. But if I need to, I can do something else here. Um, what do I'm not. I could take Levis earlier, but I'm probably not doing that, right? So what do I got? Tight end. I know I'm building out. I don't have any tight ends yet. I'm building out a 3 or 4-headed tight end monster on this team. I know that one of them is going to be, and I might not even take Levis in this build because I wouldn't have Ridley anymore, right? So actually, I'd take McCarthy right here is what I'd end up taking. I never take um, the Vikings tight end. Where does he even go? Where does he go? Earlier, I guess. Yeah, Hawkinson right all the way up here. Okay, I'm not taking him either way. Not that early, definitely. But this is what I do. I take Musgrave to start my tight ends. Then here I take McCarthy, and then Jones, and I don't worry about. And then I push one of these, right, or I draft something else. But there we go. Least favorite pick, the Ingram pick. I should have started my quarterbacks here. Get Burrow. Consider not getting Ingram at a discount here. And I know it's not going to help me later on in these sit and goes, at least. Go and take Burrow. Okay, we got it. Let's compare ourselves to teams that are similar. This is an interesting one, though, because it's a 7-7. How many teams are 7-7? Probably not many. I don't think I've drafted any like this before. 6-8, 6-8, 7-8, 6-8. So 3-3. So these two, we'll just compare these two to the right and left, right? Because they're the closest and they're right next to us. Both them, Jefferson here is now getting pushed up, and then these two are getting pushed a little bit down in general. Interesting though, because this guy here went, well, I went all hardcore wide receiver. These guys both went other things other than wide receiver for a lot of their picks. 1 out of 5 for wide receiver. Both of them 1 out of 5 for wide receiver right before then they kind of started to hit on it down here, which is okay. I do feel like either I over invested in wide receiver, which you could argue potentially, considering again 5 in the first 5 picks, or they under invested with only 8 and them starting so late on wide receiver. Let's see if we can make a determining factor on that one. Who made the mistake, if anyone? We all have higher end of like, of the different tiers of the tight ends. They both have high end QBs, which they better, right? And they both have, high end running backs too, which they better considering they waited so long to invest on wide receiver. We've seen this before, and I think this is where, again, where I'm winning a little bit, in that they already have their bets on running backs, and then they got a bet here on Chubb and Eckler. I think these are like the last players maybe that you want to have bets on here, especially in this format. If this is like a tournament, Chubb, you take them and you go, okay, I got 2 studs and I end up with 3 studs in the end, hopefully, type of thing. I guess, why not? Does anyone think Eckler's gonna? I guess if you really think Eckler's gonna bounce back, okay, him and Chubb, maybe there's similar players in that respect where people aren't expecting much and then they end up doing a lot. So I guess you can buy that. Let's say that's true for both of them. Okay, we that pick's okay. He took Gus Edwards here though, so that's his. I think that's his mistake then. Instead of Gus Edwards, take any other wide receiver, or instead of Eckler, take. I think this is the pick. You got to get rid of Eckler, and then because you got Addison, Rice, McConkey, Johnson, Watson, any of those players I like more than Eckler in this build. And then just take Gus Edwards here. Why not? If that's what you really want to do. Same thing here. I like all these players straight up, and especially in the builds they got instead of Chubb. He's already got a Dunze. So what I've been kind of messing with is if I got a Dunze here, then I want something that is, so I'm not taking McConkey, basically is what I'm saying. I'm going to go Addison, Rice, or Johnson, and maybe not even Rice. Well, he's got Holmes. You got Mahomes. Holmes. So maybe I do take Rice here just because of that correlation. Instead of the Chubb pick, I take Rice. Or if I don't like that because I got a Dunze already right here, I take Addison or Johnson. I think they both end up with better teams, probably just as good, if not better teams than mine, and some, not better, not worse, but just better builds. I'm not going to judge player takes for the most part, as you can tell. Might speak a little bit to it, but mainly I'm just thinking about how it's built and what makes the most sense. They both took their second quarterbacks, and we already saw here that he took him, and I think that was kind of a mistake too. You got 2 top QBs. You didn't invest in wide receiver, and then you took this detour here. I think you gotta maybe make a stance somewhere. Some late end tight ends after with Kittle. That's fine, yes. There we go. That's what I would change on my team. That's what I'd change on their teams. I do think that overall, I like my construction better, but I definitely made an error on mine. So my 7 wide receivers, I guess, is okay. You could say 6 on mine also, but I think they definitely need to be at either a stronger 8 or be at one of the two, a stronger 8 by passing on one of their players and getting a wide receiver instead, or deciding to pass on more players later on to make it a 9 wide receiver build and hope for the best as they pile on picks later on. I kind of learned the hard way last year that, and I haven't even made the video yet for that. I don't think, or it's in the hopper as an idea. Um, Mistake people make: build out their wide receiver. They know they need wide receivers, so build them out at the end with a bunch of garbage instead of like investing early. Um, it's not going to work, I don't think, unless you get lucky. And so that was one of my errors. I think we'll go with that. Also, if we haven't gone over it already. Okay, there's the draft. Let me know what you think on this one. I like how it turned out, even though I did make some mistakes and my QBs are looking scary. But I think the rest of my team maybe can carry me through. We'll see. We will see you in the end. See you on the next one. Peace.